Project Playtime Phase 2 has finally released, and it is jam-packed with a bunch of secrets. Some of those secrets even hinting towards lore for Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. So all you need to do is sit back, relax, and enjoy 10 details you may have missed from Project Playtime Phase 2. At 1, we've got the PLAYCARE posters. I made sure to put the best first, and as you know, any fan of the franchise is patiently waiting for Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, which we all know is going to take place in a location called PLAYCARE. But throughout Destroy a Toy, we find some posters that hint towards PLAYCARE. I've found it 3 times throughout the facility. It has an ominous message on it: take every step like it's your last. And then we see 3 toy-like mascots: a puppy, a unicorn, and a chick like Chica, all of them heading in the direction of a sign which states PLAYCARE. Now there's a couple of theories around what this could mean. The one that I like the most is that these are the new mascots for Chapter 3. We know Mob Games likes to keep us guessing, and we're all trying to decide who the new mascot is going to be. But what if it's going to be 3 mascots? Kinda like a trifecta of terror, and it's the complete opposite to what they had in Chapter 2 with a mommy-like figure. Now we've got some crazy kid monsters that are going to attack you all at once. Another theory is that these are just the representation of the children that are going to be inside of PLAYCARE, and as they're different types of animals, this could be a nod towards the fact that they're orphans going there, which we all know is a consistent theme for Elliot Ludwig and Chapter 3. Anyway, let me know what you think their 3 names are going to be. On to the next detail, secret room number 1. So you may have been wondering where I found those posters. One of them is definitely inside of the map, it's right here underground, but the others are in locations that you need to hack the game to reach. And if we no-clip through the map, we find this red room. This is the first of the secret rooms, which I found with some interesting details inside. The computer setup reminds me of the FNAF security room, so now we're just going to refer to it as the security room. Anyway, in here was the first time I found an instance of the poster. It's sitting right there on the table, but because of the angle, you wouldn't be able to see it from the outside. But then on the other side of the desk, you can find this photo frame. It's extremely hard to make out who's inside of the photo, but you can see that there's at least 2 people, an adult and a child, with both of their faces scratched out. Again, I'm not completely sure who this could be. Could it be Rowan Stoll and his adopted child? Or just a random employee that was working in this space and his child? But I think the fact that there's a photo with a child in it and the poster right next to it about the adoption program shows that there's some sort of connection between this employee and the adoption program. It's also worth mentioning that this office is such a terrible vibe, it's like a prison cell. But anyway, on to the next secret detail. Secret room number 2. Now this is a good one, it's jam-packed. On the side of the facility where you can find all of those toys sprawled out on the floor, there's this room. It can be seen from the main map, but it's just out of reach. There's a big gap that goes into the abyss and some machinery moving through it. And on the other side, there's a desk with some papers on it. This was also the 3rd location that I mentioned that poster exists. And it's also the clearest one of those posters, and the biggest. It's also worth mentioning that photo frame is here again. So I'm not sure if it's just a reused asset or another room that person works in. I mean, it's pretty dreary as well, so it might be the place that they put this guy that they hate. But those aren't the details I want to focus about in this room. I want to focus on all of the notes in here. We get a bunch of secret little messages and numbers over here. On one of the notes it says check the Boxy project. Another note says June 27, but I can't see what year it is. And it says don't forget. That obviously means something big happened around this time. Another note says call K. I have absolutely no idea who K could be. And none of the employees that work there start with the letter K. But then there is a person called Michaela Hyssop. It's the person that's believed to be turned into Candy Cat. We learn about her in Chapter 2, but I'm unsure what the connection between this person and K, aka Michaela, could be. And then the one that I find the most interesting, tomorrow meeting in the theater. Based on what the theater looks like in Project Playtime, I have a feeling this meeting was a trap, but I'm excited to hear your theories on all of this. So please comment below what you think these messages could mean, especially the one about the date. But it's easy to miss all of these details in this room because look at that goddamn poster. Anyway, I can't keep getting hung up on that. On to detail number 4. 1006 was here. Now I could only find an instance of this once in the map. It's quite close to the office that we were just looking at. If you go upstairs onto a platform, look for the bunch of toys that are all over the ground, and you'll find these tarps that say Playtime Co. on them. The one on the right has these 3 suspicious scratches running through it, and the first thing that jumps to my mind when we see scratches like that is 1006. We've seen instances of this before where there's a scratch somewhere and we give it up to 1006. Kind of like Bunzo the Bunny's misadventure. Right at the end we see a wall with a scratch on it, which everyone assumed was the prototype. But I will admit that it could be Boxy Boo that did this as well. I just think it's more exciting to believe that the prototype made his way through all of these maps. You know, when he brought Judgment Day to Playtime Co. Anyway, on to detail number 5, the secret runways. This new map is absolutely huge, and when you look up you may notice in the rafters some runways. Kinda like the runways that are above the PlayStation in Chapter 2. And exactly like them, if you go up you can actually walk through them. Up here absolutely no monster can reach you because it's too high up, and it gives you a perfect view of the new map. map. I obviously hacked the game to get up here, but when I got up here I found these access hatches. And in the access hatches there's an adjustable ladder, and underneath the hatches is the map. It's almost like they're future-proofing a potential way for us to get up here later on. Maybe this is going to be a map in Chapter 3 that we're going to actually come to. But in this current state of Project Playtime, there's no other way of getting up here, even though it's perfectly walkable and usable. Anyway, on to detail number 6, Harley Sawyer's speech. Remember that deep voice at the beginning of the game in the trailer? Well, that's the Dr. Harley Sawyer. We get some information about him in a VHS tape in the first phase. We come to learn he's the person that set up the Bigger Bodies Initiative. And we're starting to get a feeling that he might be the reason things went wrong in this place. You know, having a god complex and all of that? Well, that's him at the beginning of the game reinforcing his god complex. He claims his goal is to escape incineration to reach the infinite. Basically saying he wants infinity health. In the first phase of the game, he makes it sound like his goal is to have infinity workers. You know, for the prosperity of the company and all that jazz. Whereas over here, we see the angle shift a little bit. It's actually a little bit more selfish than you think. He's the one that doesn't want to die. He's just using this company and the Bigger Bodies Initiative as a way to do this experiment. But don't worry, you know how these things go. They always die in the end. Anyway, speaking of Harley Sawyer, on to the next detail. A new VHS tape. So you may not have noticed this, but you have to jump into the screening room. Over there, you can find a new VHS tape. It's sitting in the basket on the right with the first one. I highly suggest you listen and watch in detail. Harley Sawyer marvels at the creation of Boxy Boo, a huge success in his Bigger Bodies Initiative. But then he starts flipping out when a phone starts ringing. He flips out so much that he turns the recording off. This is then followed by some mysterious text messages appearing, in a very similar way to how they did in the first VHS. But this time they describe to us a new gift that we've been given, the phone, which we can find on the left side. I've always assumed that this is the prototype talking to us, but there's a lot of reference to we. This kinda makes it sound like there's multiple people talking to us, but as we saw at the end of Chapter 2 with Mommy Longlegs, the prototype takes and consumes the toys. So this we could just be a reference to the amalgamation of toys that he has become. Or I could be completely wrong and there could be multiple. I really want to hear your theories on this one as well, so make sure to comment below who you think the we is. Anyway, on to the next detail, the secret numbers. So throughout the VHS tape, there's a few moments where some static plays. 2 moments in particular. And in those moments, we get some secret messages in the static. If we pause the first one, it says, execution -- plan 000 so on. And then the second time it happens, it says resource extraction. Once again, I have absolutely no idea what these things could mean. I'd absolutely love to get your help on this one. Please comment below what you think these messages could mean, especially the first one with the numbers. Anyway, on to detail number 9, the phone. So in the teaser for Project Playtime Phase 2, we got this picture, and when you increase the brightness and contrast, we saw mention of a gift. And then at the end of the VHS tape that I just told you guys about, the prototype or whoever the we is tells us that our gift is the phone. And within the screening room, there's the phone. It says charging and pages. And something not everyone realizes, if you click on the phone, you can pick it up. Like everything in this goddamn place, it's pretty much a mascot as well. It's got eyes and it's staring at you. I'm not totally sure what to do with the phone just yet, but I've got a theory on what this phone's powers are. During the VHS tape playing, when the phone rings, Harley Sawyer freaks out. I'm not sure if this phone has some sort of power that talks to the toys, or is just a mysterious communication device that Harley Sawyer doesn't know about, but it is definitely used as some form of communication between the prototype and the rest of the toys in the facility. And I guess now us. Do you think there's a set of numbers that we need to punch into there? Anyway, on to the final detail, number 10. There's a new Survivor tutorial. When the game first released, everyone did the Survivor tutorial, and you might think this new game is pretty much the same just with a new map, but there's a hell of a lot more. We've got new minigames in the game pillars, and some new maneuvering abilities. And in the new Survivor tutorial, we get an opportunity to practice on these toys. There's an entire new arcade room with all of them in there, so now we can practice up before we go into the real game. And there's a new mechanic tutorial teaching you how to bring out your friends and run away from Huggy, which is very important, because Huggy told me if you don't subscribe, this will happen.